low so that it doesn't disrupt the meeting, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm putting on the Zoom. So you can go ahead and log in Zoom. Okay, if you all ask Ben and Israel, if you could put your cameras on, that would be good. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Is Brad going to join us, Aspen?
I'm not sure.
All right, let's turn on cameras. Starting in 1 minute. Oh, you've got braces, huh, Israel? Very good. All right, it is 12 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start our lesson. And I'm going to move my kitten because she's trying to get on the keyboard. All right, so first we're going to review lessons 205 and 206 just a little bit because that's what we did last week. In 205, we had to write about the after-school Spanish or after-school activities that we do or would like to do in Spanish. We had to use our stem changing verbs and gustar and con. For 206, you had to know about ni, con, and sin. Now, ni means neither, like neither nor. So I could say, no me gusta limpiar, ni me gusta cocinar. So the ni comes right between. Instead of and, it's like the neither. Con is with, sin is without. You want to know how to use those words in a sentence. You need to know the difference between tocar and jugar, and gustar and encantar. Remember, tocar and jugar both mean to play, but they're used differently, and that's important. Gustar and encantar are very similar, but different. And something that trips up a lot of people is knowing about the dating traditions in the Caribbean, specifically in Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Lessons 203 and 204 go over those dating traditions. So the those are lessons you want to review if you are feeling like you don't remember that. Oops. So for lesson 207, we're going to be describing the weather and the 4 seasons, going over weather expressions. We're going to continue using our stem changing verbs. We're going to go over some pieces of clothing, so some more vocab. Also, we'll be describing how the weather affects certain activities and whether you want to know the difference between weather patterns, climates, temperature scales of Spanish-speaking countries with it's a sentence put out. Okay, these are the Florida State Standards for lesson 207. And we're going to go over this. Okay, so now you remember the first page of each lesson usually has a little video that you can watch. And if you're not in the habit of watching that video, you should definitely do so. There's always a text version at the bottom underneath the video. We also have the note guide. It's usually on the first page of each lesson. If you're not in the habit of using guided notes, now would be a good time. Okay. So in this particular conversation or video conversation, starts with Caleb saying, "Tengo mucho frío, I'm cold." Hola amigos, el tiempo en mi casa está muy frío para mi gusto. So he's saying that the temperature of my house is too cold for what I would prefer. El tiempo hace, ¿qué tiempo hace en tu país o ciudad? What is the weather like in your country or city? And let's scoot down here. So Javi says, "Hola Caleb, ¿qué haces?" Hey Caleb, what are you doing? Hola Javi, pienso en las estaciones. I'm thinking about the seasons. Pienso en cómo en todo el mundo es invierno, pero el clima en Argentina es de verano. So he says, I'm wondering why in the whole wide world it's winter, but in Argentina it's summer. Now I will answer that for you. You know, Argentina is on the other side of the equator. So when it's winter here in the United States, it's summer in Argentina and vice versa. When it's winter there, it's summer. Javi says, sí, ahora en Argentina hace muy buen clima. So now it's very good in Argentina. Quisiera estar en Argentina. I would like to be in Argentina. El meteorólogo dijo que this fin de semana it's going to rain. So you know, he says it's going to rain this weekend. Caleb says, no me hables de más mal tiempo, chicos. Says, don't tell me about more bad weather. Javi says, okay, imaginemos que estamos con sol en Argentina en una playa con una temperatura muy caliente. Well, imagine we're on the beach with sol in Argentina with very warm weather. He says, let me grab my sunblock. And it's a sunblock, see, Chico, you don't want this beautiful face to burn in the humidity and heat. All right, some of us also sunburn a bit. All right. So we're going to learn about different weather expressions. I've got some cool pictures here. And of course, this one looks like a very vicious thunderstorm. The question here is, ¿Tienes miedo cuando empieza a llover? Are you afraid when it begins to rain? Para muchas personas, la palabra llover de recuerdo o le recuerda de algunos huracanes. So for many people, the word to rain makes them think about hurricanes. Now, we just had a really bad hurricane in Florida, so some of you are still recovering from that with your houses. Para otras personas, llover es un símbolo de alegría porque significa que puede tronar o nevar. For some people, to rain is a symbol of happiness because it means that it's going to thunder or to snow. Hay muchas personas que les encanta cuando va a llover. For many people, they love it when it's going to rain. ¿Qué tiempo hace hoy en tu ciudad? What's the weather like today in your city? Okay, of course, it's getting colder here in Florida, but not too cold. All right, we're going to go over some vocab words. And you may want to take a screenshot of these vocab words because when we do our little review sessions about these words and phrases, I know that some of you get a little confused, and it's good if you actually do screenshots, take some notes. ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? Now, tiempo we learned last year in the beginning class means it can also mean time. But in this sentence, ¿qué tiempo hace? Literally, what does the weather make? So we're talking about weather. What's the weather? ¿Qué tiempo hace en tu ciudad? What's the weather like in your city? Nevar, to snow. Mañana va a nevar in Alaska. Tomorrow it's going to snow in Alaska. Llover, to rain. El meteorólogo dice que hoy va a llover. The meteorologist says that today is going to rain. Tronar, to thunder. A veces cuando llueve también puede tronar. So sometimes when it rains, it also thunders. Está nublado, it's cloudy. Está nublado en La Habana, Cuba. It's cloudy in Havana, Cuba. You guys have any questions about the vocab? Okay. So now we're going to practice, and this is a different kind of practice than we've had in a while. This is multiple choice. Okay, and I do want you to type the word in the chat box. So, va a llover y también puede blank. Tengo miedo. Okay, yes, the correct word is tronar. It's a thunder. Hoy va a llover y blank. Está nublado. Yes, it's going to rain and it's cloudy. En la casa de Ruth va a okay, a llover. It's going to rain. You can see it's got rain on the window. Blank mañana donde vive Ruth. Which one of these is it? Is it qué tiempo hacer? Bien tiempo hace or qué tiempo hace? Yes, it's the last one. Qué tiempo hace. All right, so we've got some words that are used in other places. So, ¿qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? We could also say, ¿cómo está el clima? What's the weather like? Or ¿cómo está el tiempo? Again, what's the weather like? So any of those phrases can be used when you're asking what's the weather like. Llover, to rain. Also, diluviar, to rain. But I will say this, diluviar refers more to, you know how when we get our big thunderstorms in Florida, and sometimes we get a light rain, and sometimes we get a rain that's like someone just dumped a bucket of water. And that is a diluviar. Okay, that's basically the floodgates are open. Okay. Lloviznar is that very fine rain that's almost like a fog that comes down. And we get that type too, don't we? Lloviznar. All right. So llover is just regular rain, diluviar, floodgates open, lloviznar, very light rain, sprinkles. Nevar, to snow. In some places, they also say neviscar, which is another word for to snow. Tronar, to thunder. In some places, they say atronar or estallar. All right, and I will say atronar and estallar are more about the quality of the thunder than anything else. Okay. Está nublado, it's cloudy. We could say está nuboso, which is more of a foggy kind of cloud. Fog is basically the clouds that come down low. Okay. Or está encapotado. And that's like basically white caps. You guys have any questions about these? Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about los huracanes en el Caribe, which all of you have great experience with this. Okay, and it says here, Carlos vive en una isla en el Caribe. He lives in an island in the Caribbean, which they've set on the map is Puerto Rico. Necesitas buscar un mapa para entender el clima y esta actividad. So you need to look at the map to understand the climate and the activity. Vivir en una costa de una isla representa mucho peligro. So to live on the coast of an island, it's very dangerous. Well, even to live on the coast of Florida can be dangerous, can't it? Okay, so we've got Carlos, Juliana, and some weather pictures. Hola, soy Carlos y estoy en la isla de Puerto Rico y hoy va a llover y tronar. So I live on Puerto Rico and today it's going to rain and thunder. No me gusta cuando llueve y truena porque no puedo salir con mis amigos. I don't like it when it rains and thunders because I can't go out with my friends. Notice that llover becomes llueve and it is a stem changing verb. Tronar becomes truena and it is also a stem changing verb. Okay, remember I said we were going to continue with our stem changing verbs. Pero también no me gusta cuando llueve y truena porque es como un huracán. I don't like it when it rains and thunders because it's like a hurricane. El huracán María was una experiencia muy difícil para los puertorriqueños y las personas en las islas. So Hurricane Maria was a very difficult experience for Puerto Rico and the people in the surrounding islands. Por eso ahora mi familia se prepara muy bien. Because of that, my family and I prepare very well. You remember that when Hurricane Maria went through, that in Puerto Rico, they didn't have power for a couple of months. It was bad. In fact, there were some cruise companies that actually went and let people who had no home or shelter or anything come and live for months on their cruise ships. It wasn't the luxury cruise that one goes on, but it was a place for them to be. Okay, mi amiga Juliana está en América del Sur en Argentina. My friend Juliana is in South America in Argentina. Cuando en Puerto Rico hay huracanes, en Argentina todo está calmado. So when there are hurricanes in Puerto Rico, it's very calm in Argentina. In Argentina, no hay huracanes. Los argentinos tienen suerte. So in Argentina, there's no hurricanes. They're very lucky. Hawaii, Madagascar, la costa de África y el Caribe siempre están en peligro de los huracanes. So in Hawaii, Madagascar, African coast, and the Caribbean, there's always a danger of hurricanes. Puedes usar un mapa para buscar los países donde hay huracanes. So you can use the map to find those countries that have hurricanes. All right, this is no such thing as bad weather, only different kinds of good weather. That's a matter of attitude, isn't it? Okay, this is para tomar fotos o tocar un instrumento, no importa si hace buen tiempo o hace mal tiempo. So to take pictures or to play an instrument, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad weather. Okay, Aspen, I don't know why it's crashing. It could be your internet. Pero si vas a jugar al golf o para practicar el tenis, tiene que hacer buen tiempo. So if you're going to play golf or practice tennis, you got to have good weather for those. Es un poco difícil jugar o practicar si hace calor, hace frío o hace viento. It's a little difficult to play or practice those sports if it's hot, cold, or if it's windy. Depends on how good. ¿Qué deporte practicas cuando hace buen tiempo? So what sport do you play when it's good weather? Do any of you play sports outside? No? All right, let's look at these phrases. These are weather phrases that I want you to get very comfortable with. Hace calor, it is hot. Hace calor, it's hot today. Hace frío, it's cold. Hace frío en Antarctica. So it's cold in Antarctica. Hace sol, it is sunny. Hace sol en la mañana, it's sunny in the morning. Hace buen tiempo, it's nice weather. Hace buen tiempo, puedes ir a caminar. It's good weather, you can go walk. Hace mal tiempo, it's bad weather. Hace mal tiempo, no puedes estar en el agua. If it's bad weather, you can't be in the water. Hace viento, it's windy. Hace viento por el huracán. It's windy because of the hurricane. All right, so now you're gonna look at these pictures. And in the chat box, you're gonna type out what the weather is like. So we've got hace calor, hace sol, hace frío, hace mal tiempo, or hace viento. Okay, Andre and Sophia said hace frío. Yes, it's cold. Oops. Okay, what about this one? Hace viento, hace calor, hace sol, hace mal tiempo, or hace frío? Hace sol, it's sunny. All right, we got this one, hace sol, hace calor, hace frío, hace viento, hace mal tiempo. Which one would work best here? Right, Andre, hace mal tiempo, it's bad weather. All right, girls got a fan, hace sol, hace mal tiempo, hace frío, hace calor, hace viento. Well, the fan makes wind. But it's she's got the fan on because of some reason. Yes, Sophia, hace calor, that's right, it's hot. Here's one. Hace calor, hace viento, hace mal tiempo, hace frío, hace sol. Which one? This one, hace viento, it's windy because you got the curtains getting blown in. All right, let's look at some comparison phrases here. So, hace mal tiempo, it's bad weather, could also be hace mal clima, it's bad weather. Hace buen tiempo, it's good weather. You could say hace buen clima. So tiempo and clima can kind of be interchanged. Hace sol, it's sunny. Could also be está soleado. And that's, be mindful though, that hace is always hace before it's like sol. But if you're going to use soleado, you have to use está. Basically, it is being sunny. Hace viento, it's windy. Could be está ventoso or hace aire, or it's windy. All right. Some of you are really good with this whole Celsius versus Fahrenheit comparison. I am pretty bad at Celsius, but they're going to give us a chart here for this, okay? So cuando viajas es importante saber si el país usa grados. So when you travel, it's important to know, saber means to know, if a country uses degrees Celsius or grados Fahrenheit para decir la temperatura. So do they use Celsius or Fahrenheit? Muchos países usan el sistema métrico para decir la temperatura. Many countries use the metric system for temperature. Usan grados Celsius o grados centígrados. So it's either Celsius or centigrade, but they're using the metric. Los países que usan grados Fahrenheit para decir la temperatura son Estados Unidos, Belize, Palau, Las Bahamas, y las Islas Caimán. So United States, Belize, Palau, Bahamas, and the Cayman Islands, these are the ones that use Fahrenheit. Everybody else is metric. So if you're going to go out, like on a cruise or something to another country and they don't use Fahrenheit, you need to know what centigrade or Celsius is. Okay, en Argentina está a 9 grados Celsius. En Estados Unidos se dice 48.2 grados Fahrenheit. Hace frío. So if it's 48 degrees in the United States, then it's only 9 degrees Celsius in Argentina. Still super cold. All right. En Cuba, la temperatura está a 24 grados centígrados. En Puerto Rico se dice 75.2 grados Fahrenheit. Hace buen tiempo. So, in Cuba, they use the Celsius. So it's 24 degrees centigrade or Celsius. And it's 75 in Puerto Rico. So it's those are the same temperature. but just different countries. All right, so we do have a chart. So right now it's 72 degrees in the United States. So we'll look at where it says 71.6 here on the chart, and that would be 22 degrees Celsius. So it's not bad. That's actually quite nice. And this chart is in your lesson. All right, now I'm going to look at the difference between mucho and muy, which some of you get a little confused about these two phrases. Okay. First, we're looking at mucho. Mucho means a lot. Muy means very. So, tienes mucho trabajo. You have a lot of work. Llueve mucho. It rains a lot. So we can use mucho with a noun, like trabajo is a noun, or we can use mucho after a verb to say, that how much it rains. Okay. Muy means very. So we can use muy with an adjective. Las botas son muy bonitas. The boots are very pretty. It basically gives us the amount of pretty they are. Okay. Or we can say a verb plus muy plus an adverb. So nieva muy rápidamente. Rápidamente is an adverb, especially with mente on the end, it makes it an adverb. So it snows very quickly. Any questions on mucho and muy? We'll talk about seasons. Las estaciones is our word for seasons in Spanish. However, like they've got the question here, ¿cuál es tu estación favorita? What's your favorite season? And the word estación can also be used for channel, like the channel on the TV. Okay. But here we're talking about seasons. La estación favorita de mi tío Felipe, que vive en Camagüey, Puerto Rico, es el verano. So my uncle's favorite season is summer. A Felipe le encanta cuando hace mucho calor. Felipe loves it when it's very hot. La estación favorita de mi tía Lucy, que vive en Nueva York, es el invierno. My aunt's favorite season is winter. A ella le encanta cuando hace frío y nieva mucho. She loves it when it's cold and snows a lot. A mí no me gusta la primavera porque las flores me hacen estornudar. I don't like spring because the flowers make me sneeze. A mi prima Lisa le encanta la primavera porque los pájaros cantan y las flores se ven muy bonitas. My cousin Julissa loves spring because the birds sing and the flowers are pretty. ¿Y tú cuál estación prefieres? And what season do you prefer? You guys want to write your season, your favorite one? Or you can unmute and tell me. Nobody has a favorite season? My favorite season is probably winter because I miss the snow. We don't get it here. All right, hold on. Okay, and don't forget this new verb is estornudar, to sneeze. Something we do a lot here in Florida. Okay, let's go over some vocab words. And these are our seasons. El verano is summer. Durante el verano hace calor. During the summer, it's hot. La primavera, spring. Las flores salen durante la primavera. El otoño, autumn, or fall. Hace buen tiempo en el otoño. It's good weather in the fall. El invierno, winter. En el invierno hay mucha nieve en New York, Nueva York. So in the winter, there's a lot of snow in New York. La estación, season. ¿Cuál es la estación favorita de tu padre? Primavera, verano, otoño, o invierno. What's your father's favorite season? Spring, summer, fall, or winter? All right, you guys have any questions about the seasons? You could do a screenshot here, and that would help you to, be able to keep these words. All right, we're going to go to the next page. Got some more multiple choice, and we're looking at the seasons here. En blank hace mucho frío y nieve. So which one of these is it gonna be? El invierno, right? En blank hace calor. I bet you guys have done this before. Don't put your head in the sprinklers or just dance in the sprinklers. El verano, right? Summer. En la estación de blank hay muchas flores de muchos colores muy bonitos. La primavera. Las hojas son rojas o naranjadas en el otoño, right? I want to point something else out to you. 3 of these seasons are masculine: el invierno, el otoño, el verano, and then spring is feminine, la primavera. And so you want to make sure you remember that. All right, we've got some cultural notes here. Remember, the culture is just as important as the grammar in these lessons because you're going to get quizzed on them. Okay, hola amigos, mi nombre es Marina y soy argentina. So we're learning more about Argentina. Okay, so she's from Argentina. Argentina tiene muchos climas, has a lot of temperatures or climates. En el norte de Argentina hace mucho calor durante el verano. In the north of Argentina, it's very hot during the summer. El centro de Argentina tiene inviernos fríos. The center of Argentina has very cold winters. En el sur de Argentina hace calor en los veranos y nieva mucho en los inviernos. The south of Argentina, it's hot in the summer, snows a lot in winter. Yo vivo en el centro de Argentina. I live in the center of Argentina. I will say this. If you look at Argentina on a map, okay, Argentina is, it goes down to the very southern tip of South America. So South Argentina actually comes very close to Antarctica, which of course you know that is cold. Para el verano uso los pantalones cortos, las camisetas y las chanclas. In the summer I use shorts, t-shirts and sandals. Okay. Pero para el invierno tengo que usar el abrigo, los pantalones y las botas porque hace mucho frío. But in the winter, I have to use a coat, pants, and boots because it's very cold. It says here in Argentina, los meses del verano son diciembre, enero, y febrero. So in Argentina, the summer months are December, January, February. Remember, they're on the other side of the equator. Los meses del invierno son junio, julio, y agosto. The winter months are June, July, and August. When I lived in Chile, which is right next door to Argentina, I experienced this for, when it was winter here, it was summer there, and vice versa. So my first Christmas down in Chile, it was hot. It was summertime. Okay, so this boy lives in Cuba. Mi nombre es Marcelo y soy cubano. I'm Cuban. Cuba tiene un clima semi-tropical. Cuba has a semi-tropical climate. Okay. Remember, tropical is actually on the literal equator. Semi or subtropical is a little bit away from the equator. Okay, you want to keep that in mind. En Cuba hace calor todo el año. In Cuba, it's hot all year long. En los meses de enero a abril hace buen tiempo. In the months of January through April, it's good weather. De mayo a octubre en Cuba siempre llueve. So from May to October, it always rains. Hay muchos huracanes en los meses de agosto a octubre. There's many hurricanes in the months from August to October. En Cuba hace mucho calor y yo uso los pantalones cortos, los tenis, las camisas y una gorra. In Cuba, it's hot, very hot. And I use shorts, tennis shoes, shirts, and like a baseball hat. Okay. I will say this, some of what they're talking about with the weather and the clothing items and all that is going to help you when you get to the voice activity part of this lesson. Okay. Please don't copy what they've got because what you have to put down is very different. Okay. Me llamo Gustavo y soy colombiano. I'm Gustavo, I'm Colombian. El clima de Colombia es tropical y llueve mucho en el verano. So the climate in Colombia is tropical and it rains a lot in the summer. Now, remember when I said tropical is right on the equator, okay? Colombia, Ecuador, they have parts of those countries that are right on the equator, very hot. En la parte del país cerca del Pacífico hace mucho calor y llueve durante todo el año. So in the part that's near the Pacific Ocean of Colombia, it's very hot and it rains all year long. Yo siempre uso el suéter para no tener frío. Okay, so he says it's tropical, but he says he likes to wear a sweater to not be cold. Durante el verano yo practico fútbol, pero si llueve no puedo jugar fútbol. So during the summer, I practice soccer, but if it rains, I can't practice it. En las montañas, so there's mountains, hace mucho viento en el verano. So in the mountains, there's a lot of wind in the summer. En el invierno hace frío y nieva en las montañas. So in the winter, it's cold and it actually snows in the mountains. So this is a tropical place, but because it has mountains, they actually get snow in the mountains. Very unique country. Okay, one more country here. Me llamo Isabela y soy española. She's from Spain. España tiene muchos climas. Spain has many climates. En el centro hace calor en el verano y hace frío en el invierno. So in the middle, the center, it's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. Llueve en el otoño y en la primavera. It rains in the fall and the spring. En la parte norte hace viento en el verano y hace frío en el invierno. So in the northern part, it's windy in the summer and it's cold in the winter. Siempre está nublado, llueve mucho. It's always cloudy and rains a lot. En la costa mediterránea, llueve en la primavera, pero también hace sol. In the Mediterranean coast, it rains in the spring, but it's sunny. En el invierno hace frío, in the winter it's cold. En el otoño hay mucha lluvia, in the fall there's lots of rain. Y hace mucho calor en el verano. It's very hot in summer. All right, so we're going to look at the word estación. Okay, so la estación de otoño es mi favorita. The fall season is my favorite. So estación here means it's a season, right? La estación de tren es muy pequeña. The train station is very small. So estación, when we're talking about weather, is a season. When we're talking about like a train station or a channel station, then it's like a station, not season. So it can be two different things. All right, we've got some cognates here. El meteorólogo or la meteoróloga. This is a cognate for meteorologist. Looks and sounds like what it means in English. And we're going to do some practice here a little bit. Remember, you have a quiz at the end of this lesson. So these questions help you practice for that quiz. All right, please use your chat box to answer these. En Puerto Rico, blank todo el año. Would it be ¿Quién tiempo hace? ¿Qué tiempo hacer? ¿Cuál tiempo hace? ¿Qué tiempo hace? We're asking a question. En Puerto Rico, blank todo el año. ¿Qué tiempo hace? Right. What is the weather like all year long? En Cuba siempre empieza a blank en los meses de mayo a octubre. In Cuba, it always begins to something in the months of May to October. Is it viento, sol, llover, or nevar? Llover, right. Remember, Cuba is very close to us, so, it's going to be similar. Ask your mom if she prefers summer or spring. So which of these questions will work? Prefiero el verano o la primavera. ¿Prefieres el verano o la primavera? ¿Prefieres el otoño o la primavera? ¿O prefiero el invierno o la primavera? You can do 1, 2, 3, or 4 on this. You don't have to type out the whole question. It's got to be one or the other there, Andre. It can't be both. What does prefiero or prefieres mean? Remember, we're asking our mom if she prefers summer or spring. It has to be 2, prefieres, right? Okay, en el verano, blank, blank en la Florida. Put in a type of weather. Remember what season is verano? We're talking about Florida. You guys are all familiar with Florida en el verano. Okay, llover is just the verb, so we need 2 words. Say it rains. How would we say it rains? Remember in the beginning, we were learning about weather expressions. Say it rains. Llover is just the verb that means to rain. It could be llueve, but they want 2 words. So instead of llueve, what do we use? I'll say lluvia. Okay. If you only needed 1 word, llueve would work. Okay. Let's look at the next one. En blank hace mucho frío en Argentina para el mes de junio. So we're looking for a season. So it's the month of June in Argentina. What season would it be? You can put 1, 2, 3, or 4 here. It's not el verano. What season is it in June in the country of Argentina? It's not verano. This is hace mucho frío. It's not winter, or it is winter, yes, And what is winter, Aspen? Okay, Mason says it's 2. El invierno is winter, right? Okay. Oops, sorry. Just flipped back here. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna skip a few of these. All right, here's ask your friend Mauricio if it's windy in the Dominican Republic during autumn. And this one definitely you can put 1, 2, 3, or 4 on. Ask Mauricio if it's windy in the Dominican Republic during autumn. It's the third one. Hace viento en la República Dominicana durante el otoño. Is it windy there? Okay, here's one. Tell your best friend that you play volleyball when it's sunny. 1, 2, 3, or 4. You say, I play volleyball when it's sunny. That's the first one. Yo juego al voleibol cuando hace sol. There's some neat pictures that come right from like Google Earth or something. You can see so much. Okay. En Buenos Aires, Argentina, durante el verano, la temperatura es de 25 grados. So in Buenos Aires, Argentina, during the summer, the temperature is 25 degrees. Puedes jugar al tenis en este clima. You can play tennis during this weather. En el otoño la temperatura es de 16 grados y en el invierno la temperatura es de 10 grados. Hace mucho frío. So in the fall, it's 16 degrees, and in the winter, it's 10 degrees. And remember, they're using Celsius. All right. En La Habana, Cuba, durante la primavera, la temperatura es de 25 grados. Actually, yeah. In Cuba, during the spring, the temperature is 25 degrees. El clima es perfecto para jugar al béisbol. The climate is perfect to play baseball. En el verano, la temperatura es de 27 grados. In the summer, it's 27 degrees. Y a mí me encantan las fiestas. I love the parties. Yo creo que el clima en Cuba para el otoño es perfecto. I believe that the climate or the temperature in Cuba in the fall is perfect. La temperatura es de 26 grados en otoño y en el invierno la temperatura es de 23 grados. So it's 26 degrees in the fall and it's 23 degrees in the winter, so not much difference. En Madrid, España, durante la primavera, la temperatura es de 18 grados. So in Madrid, Spain, in the spring, the temperature is 18 degrees. No creo que es el mejor momento para usar pantalones cortos. I don't believe it's the best time to use shorts, pero sí puedes jugar tenis, but you can't play tennis. En el otoño la temperatura es de 18 grados, en el invierno la temperatura es de 10 grados. So in the fall it's 18 degrees, and in the winter it's 10 degrees. Otra vez el frío, another time. All right. We're going to use a couple of verbs. We've got the verb requerir, which is a stem changing verb. Requerir, you'll look here in the green box, this is the infinitive, okay? And you notice that requerir has two E's. It has re in the first syllable and per in the second syllable. Remember, stem changing verbs always stem change in the second to last syllable. Okay, there's three syllables in that verb, so the second E is where the E becomes IE. Here, there is also a stem changing verb. It means to lose. And the first E is the second to last syllable. That's where the stem change occurs. Pensar, same thing. It means to think. Entender, to understand. It has three syllables, so the second E is where the stem change occurs. Cerrar, to close, has only one letter E, and that's the first syllable, but it's the second to last. And so that becomes I. So we've got preferir. Ella prefiere el verano porque hace calor. She prefers the summer because it's hot. Now let's look at the verb decir. Repetir, to repeat. Decir, to say. Competir, to compete. Pedir, to ask for or to order. They all have the letter E becomes I, not IE, just I. And repetir has three syllables, so it's the second E. Decir has two syllables, so it's the first E. Competir has three syllables, so it's the only letter E. And pedir has two syllables, so it's the first letter E. Ellos dicen que es mejor jugar al fútbol cuando hace sol. They say that it's better to play soccer when it's sunny. You guys have any questions about these stem changing verbs? Okay. Now let's look up here. We got the verb jugar. The verb jugar, the U becomes UE. Yo juego al tenis durante el otoño en la República Dominicana. I play tennis during the fall in the Dominican Republic. Remember, stem changing verbs, the stem change occurs in the second to last syllable. So if you only have two syllables, it's the first. Here's the verb poder. The O becomes UE. Poder means to be able to or can. Costar, to cost. Dormir, to sleep. Contar, to count. Almorzar, to eat lunch. Now, all of these have two syllables. So the O is in the first syllable, except for almorzar, where the O is in the second to last syllable, which is there three syllables. Almorzar. O becomes UE. Tú puedes tocar la guitarra durante el invierno en Cuba. You can play the guitar during the winter in Cuba. And you notice they use tocar, by the way. Just remember tocar and jugar. They both mean to play, but we only use tocar when we're playing instruments. This is you can play anytime. All right. Here's an example where E becomes I using the verb decir. So digo, dices, dice. Remember, it says él dice here, but it could be ella dice or usted dice. Decimos, decís, ellos or ellas dicen, could also be ustedes dicen. Any questions? Notice when I say we stem change in that second to last syllable, we never stem change for nosotros or vosotros. Never happens. Okay. No weird situations. Here's decir again. Same, a little written out, maybe a little clearer for you since the other illustration may have been too small. Oops, did you want me to go back to that? Mason, were you okay? All right, now we have dormir. Notice dormir, the stem is dorm and ear is the ending. Remember, our stem change can only happen in the stem of the verb. Okay, and in this case, second to the last syllable, there's dorm, ear, 2 syllables. The O becomes UE right here. Okay, and we've got jugar where U becomes UE. So jugar, we've got, oops. Juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, jugáis, juegan. Dormir becomes duermo, duermes, duerme, dormimos, dormís, duermen. The difference in the endings, jugar is an AR verb. So stem changing verbs have their normal ending for if they're an AR, ER, or IR verb. That's something to remember as well. Okay. And dormir is an IR verb. Here's some examples of other stem changing verbs. Jugar, tú juegas a la pelota después de la escuela. You play softball after school, baseball. Poder, to be able. Ella puede ser doctora si ella quiere. She can be a doctor if she wants. Dormir, to sleep. Ellas duermen hasta la tarde. They sleep until the afternoon. Yo cuento el dinero. I count the money. Almorzar. Ustedes almuerzan en la escuela. You have lunch in school. Any questions on this? Okay. And they've got preferir here again. Remember, has 2 E's, but it's the second E where the stem change occurs. So yo prefiero, tú prefieres, él or ella prefiere, preferimos, preferís, prefiere. Some examples using that. Max prefiere la estación de invierno. Max prefers the season of winter. Ellos prefieren la estación de la primavera. They prefer the spring season. Okay, we are not going to do, well, we're going to do some of this. Okay, for this one, you're going to use these verbs. So the to form of this here, that's all you need. You don't need to worry about the rest of the sentence. In the chat box, please write out the to form of the verb this here. Remember, it's a stem changing verb, all of these are. Do your best. Because we lost a few people here. To be 6, right? Okay. Now, the bottom here, we want the yo form of the verb pensar, to think. What is the yo form of the verb pensar? Pienso, very good. All right, what is the ella form of the verb preferir? Ella form of the verb preferir. Remember, it's got two E's. The second E is where the stem change occurs. Close. E-R-E-F-I-E-R. What's the ending for yo? Or for A, I'm sorry. It's an IR verb, so it's an E. Refiere. Okay, let's look at this bottom one here. Elena y yo no blank. Elena y yo would be nosotros. So we need the nosotros form of the verb dormir. Stem changing never occurs for the nosotros form. So what would dormir be for nosotros? What would be the nosotros form of the verb dormir? Okay, that's close. Remember, dormir is an IR verb. So we got dorm and then mimos. Dormimos. All right, let's try the ellos form of the verb contar. What is the ellos form of the verb contar? There will be a stem change here. O will become UE. Well, what's our ending for ellos? It's an AR verb. The ellos for ending for an AR verb would be AN, right? So cuentan. All right, here's one. Ernesto y tú, and we want the jugar. We use jugar. Ernesto y tú would be Ernesto and you, so you guys. So this would be like ustedes. So what would be the ustedes form of jugar? Juegan, right. All right. So the first part of this for 207 is a quiz. And I think most of you are, if you study and take the notes, you're going to do well on the quiz. And now we're going to do something a little bit different for the voice activity, okay? So in the lesson, when they were giving temperatures, they did use the verb ser. They did not use the verb estar, okay? So that's a little different. But what we're going to do here, let's see about this. We're going to use, oops, sorry about that. We're going to use another program called Jamboard. And I'm going to give you the link here. Hold on just a second. So open up a new tab and use this link to Jamboard. Okay. Who's anonymous ferret, by the way? Two people here. Got ferret and iguana. Okay. All right. I guess it lets you pick your people. Okay. So now what we're going to do on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got the different icons. Now you can go where it says sticky note, and you can make like a little sticky note, or you can go down here where it says text box, and you can do a text box if you prefer. But we're going to use the correct form of the verb ser to say the season. Okay. Now, you don't want to do this with just whatever. Okay, we're trying to work out our sentences here so that your voice activity will be easier. Okay, so we want to use the correct form of the verb ser to say the season, and the correct form of the verb estar to say the temperature. Okay, and as far as numbers, okay, you're going to eventually want to refer back to the Celsius Fahrenheit chart, but I don't care if you get the right number correct for Celsius. Okay, no, I never check that. That's not the most important thing. So let's start in using either a sticky note or a text box. There's only 3 of you here, and only 2 of you have come into the thing here. I want you to type out, how would you say with the season? Right now we're in the fall in the United States, okay? How would you say it's the fall? Don't do this in the chat box, do this here in Jamboard. So who do we have in Jamboard? You can tell me in the chat box who's in Jamboard, or you can unmute. So Mason, you're in Jamboard. Israel and Andre, are you guys in Jamboard? So I need to see all 3 of you in there. You're the fair, Andre, okay? All right, Israel, you need to log into Jamboard. Use the link. This makes you an editor, so you know you can. Are you guys working on this? Because I don't see anything from you guys yet. Aspen, there's a link in the chat box for Jamboard. We're working on our voice activity. You can use either a sticky note or a text box in Jamboard to work on. Now we're writing out our sentences, but when we do this activity, it's a voice activity. So you're going to record yourself reading your sentence. Okay. So Aspen and Lisa, that may be your headset. Okay.
I don't think it's me because I've been muted.
Not sure what that
I think
is.
it's Aspen who mic's unmuted.
Aspen, okay. I don't, you've got the phone on speaker. Yeah. So if you need to talk to me, Aspen, just do it through the phone. All right, so what is this? Anonymous Iguana. Let's see, move your post a little bit. Okay, well, just try to get into Jamboard here. It's just something new I'm trying. Sorry. Remember, the tools for writing are all on the left. It's easier for you to do a sticky note or a text box and then type it. It does take a couple of minutes to figure it out. Okay, so maybe we should unmute because people are not writing. So I'm not seeing the writing. So like, how would you say it's the fall? using the verb ser. Let's say es el otoño, right? Okay, so who did this? This is the there. Okay, es invierno y hace. Okay, so here's where we run into problems. Remember, it tells us to use the verb estar to give the temperature. So for this one, you're going to say es invierno y está 23, or I mean, sorry, 32 grados Fahrenheit. Okay, instead of hace. Remember, hace we use for weather expressions. So es invierno y está 32 grados. Okay, fix that real quick. Okay, good. Now I don't see anything from Iguana, but we're going to go on to the next page. Okay, remember, those of you that are doing this, you're not going to, don't copy what we've got here. Just remember that we're doing the correct format. All right, so the next page, we're going to say what the weather is like using one weather expression. Remember, what's that verb we use for weather? If you can't get into Jamboard, do use the chat box, okay? There's two of you who aren't in Jamboard, Israel and Aspen, so you could use the chat box. Okay, so Andre, ¿qué tiempo hace is a question. We're going to state what the weather is like. If I look out my window right now, I could say, hace buen tiempo, it's good weather. 72 degrees, it's not too hot, not too cold. Hace buen tiempo. Although my daughter would disagree, she spent the whole day outside with her art classes at the museum and the pumpkin patch, and she's freezing, she says. But she'd say hace mal tiempo. Hace fresco, yes, that's another one we can use. There's all sorts of different weather expressions, but if we've given a season in the first sentence, we want to use a weather expression that kind of goes with that season. Okay. All right. Let's look at the third sentence. Use the correct form of the verb necesitar and one clothing item to say what you need for the weather. Their example is I need a bathing suit and shorts. Okay. Well, if it's the autumn, fall, we're not necessarily going to the beach. Okay. So what kind of clothing are you wearing now? What do you need? First of all, is how do we use the yo form of necesitar? What is that?
Necesito.
Right. So necesito and then one piece of clothing. I would say for myself, necesito pantalones. I need pants. That's long pants. Okay. Because my legs get cold. All right. You might need something else. Might be a shirt, might be a jacket, might be a hat. Think about the clothing items we have learned about in this lesson. I won't keep you guys much longer. I know you're a bit antsy. Right. Mason's been doing a lot of the work on here. Let's see. Andre, I'm gonna put some here. We've got, okay. So, yo necesitar las chanclas y los tenis. Okay. What is the yo form of necesitar? Mason said it. We take off that AR. What letter do we put? Necesito, right? So it'd be yo necesito las chanclas y los tenis. So you want sandals and tennis shoes. Well, I guess, yeah, some people wear sandals. Yo necesito una sudadera. I need a sweatsuit or a sweatshirt. All right, very good. Let's go on to the last sentence. Use the correct form of the stem changing verb jugar to say what sport you play. So what's the yo form of jugar? Where's the yo from a jugar? This picture that people get kicked out of the system. You should all know this. Remember, jugar is a stem changing verb. You becomes UE. Okay. Yo juego basketball y fútbol americano. Very good. All right. Besides those, anybody else want to add in another sport? Now, keep in mind, these are sentences you're going to be doing. You can, I encourage you to write them down and then make that recording. So you're not going, because, or, sometimes when you record, you think it's one way. And then if you're not looking at something for reference, you can get messed up. I'm going to go to this screen now, and I'm going to turn off Jamboard. All right, so we've got our voice activity. You all know how to use SpeakPipe or Vocaroo or whatever form you like to record with. Collaboration. If you haven't done the collaboration, remember this is 40 easy points. You just go down there. It's right after 3.10. And you're gonna open it up. So we went over lesson 207 today. What did you enjoy about working with other students? What did you learn? Tell me that. Next week, we're going to be doing a fun lesson about Day of the Dead on top of our normal lesson. And our collaboration for Day of the Dead is going to be about Day of the Dead. It's not going to be about the lesson. It's going to be a little different. So I hope that you guys attend next week. And if you have any friends in the class, tell them, hey, next week's going to be fun. That's it. You guys have any questions before we go?
Nope.
All right, well, I'll let you guys go then. You have a good day, okay?
You too.